the Delivering More platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. Thank you so much for joining us again, morning, afternoon, and evening. We appreciate it. As always, if you could, hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have a great tandem of guests with me here on the platform today. I have Team Condado. I have Johnny Zela, COO, and Karen Reed, Director of Off-Premises. Thank you for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. You guys both mentioned the Condado is headquartered in Columbus. Are you both out of there today?
Yes. Yep. That's where we're home based. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. It's only Karen and I spoke, I think was that last week or 2 weeks ago, Karen, in regards to we have to do a meetup at some point in time. We got to come down to that Columbus office. We're only a 2-hour trip right down. What is that? 70 South, I think is how we would navigate there. So it's a pretty easy drive. We got to do some collaboration moving forward.
Yeah, you guys are right by Cannes, right?
Yeah. We're our headquarters is in Cannes in Belden Village. I can literally walk to your guys' mall location in Belden Village.
Nice.
Next one, let's definitely do it in person.
Hell yeah. Yeah. We will make sure we navigate that correctly. I do. So this is our first time meeting. Well, my first time meeting Johnny virtually. Karen, we've spoke a few different times briefly. But I do want to introduce you guys to our viewership, the driver fleet, things of that nature. So we'll start with a little bit of background. Johnny, we'll start with you here. The United States Navy. Did you go straight to the Naval Academy out of high school or just dive right into that? How did all that play out in your younger years?
Yeah, I took about a year off from school after high school and did some odds and ends jobs, in the restaurant industry. And then I went into the Navy as an accountant, believe it or not.
Okay.
So yeah, I did a brief stint in the Navy for 4 years. I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I ran everything that had to do with financials on a ship, believe it or not. So paying for credit cards, people's payroll, all the ATM, handling from all the vending machines, our ship store. Our ship store did about $1.5 million a year, believe it or not, in sales just from, snacks and toiletries and stuff like that. Inventory process. So yeah, anything that had to do with the business model of a ship, taking in invoices, paying vendors or invoices, payroll, that all flew through my department. So yeah, it was when you think of the military and think of the Navy, you really don't think of stuff like that, right? But it fascinated me. And I had a friend in the Navy who was like, I know you would be great at this. This is a really awesome job. It's all business and money and inventory and systems like that. I really think this is something that would fascinate you. So I kind of applied and did the ASVAB through the Navy, and I qualified for that job, and I took it. And the recruiter looked at me funny. It's like, you must know somebody in the Navy who told you about this job because it's not a job that people seek, right? So I'm so happy I did because I was able to live a great life in the Navy. I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I had my own office, on the ship, and I lived a really good life, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, that's super impressive. And like you mentioned, I was going to say the same thing. When you think military, United States Navy, the last thing you're thinking of is accounting. That's literally 0% of any mindset you're thinking of when you think of the United States military. So that's super interesting, a pretty interesting background. You mentioned some time starting up in the restaurant industry. As you got out of the military, you owned and operated Bowman's Bar and Grill. And then you mentioned some restaurant background previously before the United States Navy. Was your first job in the restaurant industry?
Yeah. I was actually a dishwasher for a place in Chicago for a deli called Lincoln Sandwiches on Lincoln Avenue. And that was in 1995. And I was 15 years old. I was a dishwasher. I was just a kid. And then, I went to Lincoln Park High School in Chicago. I worked at quite a few sports bars, just being a busboy and a dishwasher and a kitchen grunt. And I worked in Wrigleyville area at quite a few restaurants. So I've literally had every single job in the restaurant industry, from dishwasher to cook to a doorman checking IDs, security, to a bartender, a server. and then to even owning my own restaurant in Chicago. And I was COO of Condado Tacos. So yeah, I've had many positions. It's been in my entire life. My family has owned and operated restaurants too, as well in Chicago area. My sister owns quite a few restaurants right now in Chicago, bar and grills in Chicago. Our father, he was started off in the bar and grill business too. So yeah, so it's in my bloodline for sure.
Hell yeah, that's super unique too, because my first job ever as a kid too was a dishwasher at a place here in Jackson Township called Corky's Cafe. So I'm very similar in nature and background. I've been a host, a server, a bartender, a dishwasher, you name it in the restaurant. I've been a fry cook, so you name it, I've done it. So that background's always super intriguing to me.
Yeah. Yep. It's restaurant industry is great. You get to experience different duties and responsibilities, and you're able to work and talk to the general public a little bit easier than some occupations get you prepared for. So.
Hell yeah. And then you mentioned there at the end, going from director of operations to vice president to now COO of Condado, which obviously we'll get into here a little later down the line. We can now, Karen Reed, director of off-premises. Karen, we don't want to make it seem like we're ignoring you here. You are going to be heavily involved in the conversation as well. Starting out here, I love this tidbit for you. Michigan State University, bachelor's degree in business management. A little anecdote for me. My first youth league basketball team was the Michigan State Spartans. So growing up, I was a huge Tom Izzo fan. At the time, there's a kid named Raymar Morgan from Canton McKinley who was on the basketball team at Michigan State. So kind of just all coincided. So since that time in my life, I've had multiple Izzone shirts, huge Michigan State basketball fan. So that's just kind of interesting little tidbit between connecting us. But I just want to ask, what was your time like in East Lansing? Are you very fond of your time then?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. I mean, if anything, for me, what I remember is just the overall college experience, the social aspect. Obviously it's great that I got a degree, but for me, it was really about being on your own, moving out of the house, testing your responsibilities as an adult officially. So it was a great time. I often try to go back as much as I can. And, sometimes it's a challenge being a Sparty and OSU, but, there's a handful of us here and we're still surviving. So.
Hell yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's tough. I didn't grow up a Buckeye either, and I've lived in Northeast Ohio my entire life, so it's been a battleground to say the least growing up. But getting into your other background as well, you have a very long list of restaurant experience as well. Director of Ops for Taste Hospitality, general manager at Bear Burger, general manager at Middle West Spirits, and then director of operations at Levi Restaurants. I wasn't sure how to pronounce that, but when did you first get into the restaurant industry? Were you the same as Johnny and I growing up, or was it after college?
Yeah, it's the same. I feel like a lot of restaurant industry people, you get sucked into it and it's really hard to break away. My first job was when I was 15. I worked at Fazoli's. I started off handing out breadsticks in the dining room and then moved to a cashier. Then I actually really found a lot of love for back of the house. So I spent a majority of my time there in back of the house, and then moved into Darden restaurants in high school. Same thing, spent a lot of time, I worked in the kitchen. So it's like a 16, 17-year-old girl in the back of the house with all the other men. Like, you learn really quickly how to operate and how to be efficient. And then over transition in time, when I went to Michigan State, I actually started off in a degree in interior design and architecture design. So I did a lot of work around furniture places, but at the end of the day, hospitality always got me back. I spent about 5 years after college in Chicago as well, and somewhat surprising that Johnny and I haven't crossed paths in so many ways, but we did find out him and his wife and I have some mutual contacts. But yeah, and then just kind of continued on, dabbled around in Arizona, then found my way into Columbus in 2009, and then started back in the restaurant industry. Spent a little bit of time away from the restaurants when I worked for Levy. I really got back into the catering aspect of operations. And so I opened up they renovated and rebuilt the International Convention Center in Louisville, Kentucky. So I spent some time there, opening up there. And then I moved back to Columbus and was their operations director at the Columbus Convention Center. Realized work-life balance was a non-existent thing even in the catering Levy world. And then when I saw Condado had posted for a director of catering position, it kind of gave me the best of both worlds. I still got to do something in the hospitality and catering world, but I also got to dive back into restaurants, which is honestly, I really missed that aspect of it. And have been here since 2019.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And we will heavily get into catering here very briefly. You mentioned going from director of catering to now director of off-prem for Condado, a great path in your career here. I think a lot of these questions will be geared towards Johnny, probably to start in regard to the beginnings of Condado, but we'll see where we land after I ask, I guess. But Condado, established in 2014, I believe. Johnny, it mentioned kind of on your website, you were crucial, I guess, to helping Joe get things underway, kind of holding a base in Columbus and making sure those first locations got up and running. Deliver That similarly was founded kind of by a core group of high school friends and then college friends as well. So I just want to know your background with Joe. How'd you guys meet? Did you guys grow up together? And then the first Condado location, was that right on campus in Columbus, or where did that actually get built?
Yeah, the first location is on the OSU campus in Columbus, Ohio, on Fifth Avenue and High Street. And no, I did not know Joe prior. I actually, I moved from Chicago to Columbus, Ohio. I sold my restaurant after having about 5.5 years. And my wife is here from Ohio, and we always just come here for holidays and whatnot. And we liked it. And she was taking a bit of a career change, going through a bit of a career change. And we were talking about Columbus, Ohio. We liked the people. Never in traffic. It was clean. We're like, let's give Columbus, Ohio a try. And me growing up in the heart of the city, Chicago, by the time I got into my 30s, I was kind of over it, believe it or not. Just the hustle and bustle, the traffic and the loudness and the in your face. And I was ready for a change, and especially after living in Hawaii for 4 years in the Navy, and things were a little bit more laid back. And Columbus, Ohio actually seemed more and more appealing to us every time we would go. And so I was really trying to find myself in the restaurant business, believe it or not. And I started off with a couple of jobs, managerial jobs. One was with a place called Kildare's Irish Pub that was on campus. The other one was I worked for Red Robin. I worked for a place called Winking Lizard.
Yeah, hell yeah, Winking Lizard.
Yeah, Winking Lizard, a local Cleveland favorite up there. Great company, but not every company and every business is for you, right? And coming from Chicago, working for more mom and pop type of places, and having my own business, it was a different speed. It was a different culture. And I was really trying to discover that and find that in Columbus, Ohio. So I walked into Condado after driving by it a few times, in this place saying, going to open soon. And I was actually bartending at a place called Matt the Miller's for twice a week. And I was perfectly happy, I was bartending a little bit more than that, but just only like 4 days a week. And I was looking to break up monotony. And I was really trying to figure out, what was I going to do? Was I going to stay in the restaurant business? Me and my wife were talking about possibly open up our own restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. And I would pass by this place called, coming soon, Condado Tacos. And I don't know what it was, but I would pull up and I wouldn't go inside. I was like, I'll just keep driving. And I did it again. I pulled up and I went inside, and I saw a bunch of artists and stuff working, and it didn't look like the place was going to be open in a couple of weeks. And I think that's what it said. It was like opening whatever on this date in like 2 weeks. And I looked around, I was like, this place probably has a few months, in all honesty. And I left. A couple weeks go by, sign's still up there and whatnot. And something just told me, just pull over and walk inside. And I had my resume. And I walked in, I met Joe Kahn. And I said, hey, I go, I live down the street here, not too far away. I keep passing by. This place looks really interesting, and I work somewhere else, and I'm just looking to break up the monotony. Believe it or not, I'm only looking for 1 day a week. And I go, you're probably not going to hire me, and that's totally fine. Here's my resume. I go, give me a call if you're interested or need someone to bartend 1 day a week. And literally, that's what I said. He looked at my resume and goes, this is one hell of a resume. You can have whatever day you want. And that's how our relationship started. And a few weeks go by, and he goes, I'll be open in a week or whatever. I looked around. I go, man, I really find that hard to believe, And sure enough, we didn't open up for like 5 weeks later, but we kind of stayed in touch. So that's what it started. I started off as a bartender, and I really got to learn the concept as a bartender, as an hourly employee. I got to learn who Joe Kahn was and is, and what his vision was, and what he was all about. And we kind of became friends. And he would confide in me in some issues he was having on a daily or weekly basis, or when I would come in, or give me a phone call and say, hey, you ever had this happen? Or, what do you think about this? And, we would just, talk about things, talk things through. And, the business started to grow, and, our relationship, was really good, me and Joe. And he was like, I'm a creator, and he is. Joe's a creator. He is the guy I want this, I want it to look like this, I want this is the type of food, but operationally, it's not his strong suit. And that's where my background comes in, is operations. And so he goes, hey, I really would like you to come on board as a director of operations, and we could grow this thing. It would be great. So that's where it started, man. It really started as a bartender, only working 1 day a week, and then went to 2 days a week to, believe it or not, director of operations. It's a crazy story. And I was really contemplating for a long time to even take this position, because I was like, it's going to be a lot of work. If I'm going to do this amount of work, I think I would just want to do it for myself again. We would openly have these conversations and say, I just don't know, Joe. I go, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I just don't know if it's there. So I probably turned down the position quite a few times until I'm not sure what it was, but I decided to do it, and I'm so glad I did, because it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. Because just the experience it's given me, the opportunity it's given me, and where we're at today, it's been a great 9 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I legitimately have like goosebumps down my arms just hearing like the catalyst and everything behind the story of how you begin to get involved. I think for me too, the restaurant industry, even though if you don't anticipate to go from bartender to director of operations to COO, I don't think anyone really ever anticipates that kind of life cycle within a restaurant, but realistically, it's almost the only industry where that kind of stuff still happens fairly regularly. I know a lot of people who start on the ground floor at the restaurant and end up a C-suite executive at point in time. So it's just crazy to hear another story like that. And you mentioned when you first went in and they're working on the artwork in the store. And for me, the Condado branding, you see the logo, you walk into the storefronts, you see the amazing, I don't know if you necessarily call it like graffiti, you call it artwork. It's amazing. The storefronts are crazy looking. Every location is kind of catered to that community specifically. I know in our Canton location, we have, singers who grew up in Canton. You have stuff involving the Pro Football Hall of Fame, things of that nature. Have you had I imagine you had conversation with Joe, why that was so important to bring that to life and why the stores look the way they do?
Our very first store, Joe only spent $200,000 on opening up that store. And it's pretty amazing. But you know what? It gave it a lot of character. And our artwork was black and white, because we had color.
Wow.
It costs more money, right? So it was pretty gritty. Everything was Frankenstein pieced together, right? It was on a low budget. But it gave it a lot of character, a lot of personality. So he had friends that were tattoo artists and graffiti artists that came in and helped him out on a pretty low budget for the art. But not every single inch of the walls were covered. There was a mural here and mural there, and some little fillers and stuff like that, and it was all black and white. And then, as we grew as a company and became more successful, we started putting more money into our stores and our openings. We added color. And we also said, hey, we want the artwork to be different in every single store, and we want it to take on a life of its own in that particular neighborhood or state or city. So that's really where it came from, and it was really all his vision. You know, I got to give him all the credit in the world to that, because he wanted the graffiti art. He wanted bold artwork, and something that, you know, people kind of had a different experience or saw something new each and every visit. But over time, as we've grown and became more successful, the artwork has become a little bit more detailed and more intricate and just better, I will say. So, and more bright and more bold. So, yeah, that's a history behind the artwork.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know if you can share this information in any facet, but would you be willing to mention what a budget for that artwork in a store is for the first location compared to nowadays?
Well, I will tell you, like I said, $200,000 is what we spent on artwork, just on an entire opening of the very first Condado. I mean, that's bar, that's kitchen, that's permits, licensing, that's everything, man. And today, that's about what we spend on an opening for artwork.
Hell yeah. That's unbelievable. It's amazing. It truly is. You walk into Condado and you're just immediately like, you've never seen a restaurant like it before. It's so unbelievable walking into those locations. I just wanted to ask too, I know I'm obviously privy to the Canton location. We have one up in Beechwood, Cleveland, I think. So I've been to that one as well. But do you, Karen or Johnny, have a specific location that stands out to you that you are fascinated with, or what you would call one of your favorite locations?
I have a favorite location. It's Midtown. That's at our downtown Detroit market. And the reason why it's one of my favorite locations is I do love the artwork. It's very eclectic. It has different personalities, and actually has people on the wall and different backgrounds and ethnicities of each person on that wall. So it really speaks to the area, right, and to the demographics of that area. It's also a little gritty. It's got a big horseshoe bar as well. It's got big patio doors. And I just love the vibe of that location. And some people, you know, we have actually nicer and spent more money on certain locations, and we're in more of event spaces and exciting maybe spaces, like we're across the street from the Cincinnati Reds Stadium, or we're right next door to the St. Louis Cardinals ballpark, or right smack downtown in Pittsburgh next to the convention center. But that location in Midtown, downtown Detroit, it just has so much character, so much personality. I just love it. From where the patio is, to our big garage doors, to the beautiful, awesome, eclectic artwork, and just to the overall vibe of the neighborhood. That's my favorite location.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. What about you, Karen? You have a favorite location based on the artwork?
I honestly don't. I don't have a favorite location, because I think to what Johnny says, every time I go in, there's something else new that I see, and I'm like, has it always been there? And they always astonish me every time I walk in. So I'm gonna be a little more biased and say I don't have a favorite location, because I think they're all so different and unique, and every time I walk in one, there's something new that I see. But that's also the magical part about the artwork and what we do there.
Yeah, I agree too. I feel the same way. Every time I go to this Canton location, I'm like, wait, who is that a portrait of? Like, wait, and you see something in a corner, you gotta like Google, like, wait, why is this Canton specific? And then you have like a whole bio on like who that person is or what that event was. It's all wild stuff. I only have a few more questions in regard to Condado as a whole. And one being, the website currently says a goal is to get to 100 locations by 2026. I just want to know, relatively, is that a lofty goal that you guys have set? Are you guys on track to already blow that number out of the water? How is the prospecting looking on getting to that 100 location mark?
I will say it's a lofty goal, but it's not realistic. It's very realistic. And I would say not by January 1st of 2026. If we could say December 31st of 2026, I feel much better. But yeah, I mean, if we don't get to 100 by then, we'll be very close. So, you know, we opened up 12 stores this past year, and we're probably going to open up about 8 to 10 next year. And then from there on, we'll try to stick with that 12 to 15 a year par. So, you know, it's hard to kind of predict, because we are pretty picky on our locations. If we wanted to definitely hit 100, we could, but we have to be smart about it, and it has to make sense, right, on where we are placing these locations at. We also want to do a lot of infill. We opened up in a lot of new markets this year, with St. Louis, Missouri is one of them. Alabama is a new market. South Carolina, Greenville is a new market. Charlotte's a new market. So we want to make sure that or Knoxville, Tennessee is a new market. So we want to make sure that we're now opening up 2 or 3 locations or 4 locations in that area. So I think that's going to be our focus, at least for the next 24 months, is infill. And we'll sprinkle in some new markets. We're working on, we're looking in the Washington, D.C. market right now and Philadelphia market right now. So those might be some newer markets that we open up in the next 2 years. But yes, if we don't hit 100, we'll probably become just shy of 100. So I think it's a good goal. It's lofty, but it's very realistic.
Cool. Yeah. And you mentioned kind of getting like the foothold in the new community and then kind of expanding from there. I think it's a pretty interesting way to kind of go about where you set up your new location. It's a pretty good way to go about things. Before we move on to catering and off-premise, which is my expertise and maybe Karen's as well here, I just want to ask Condado team, do you have a favorite menu item, or is there a secret menu hack that the public is not privy to?
Honestly, one of my favorite menu items is the veg chorizo. It's one of our vegetarian proteins. I'm not vegetarian. I'm not vegan. I love meat. But when we rolled that out, when I tasted it for the first time, it was unbelievable how close to meat it takes. It's the texture, the taste. It's fantastic. I mean, it's honestly one of my go-to proteins. It's something that I love and I always highly recommend. I think some people sometimes, especially the meat eaters, are skeptical. And every single time I always get the holy cow, I can't believe this is not meat. For me, that is one of my favorite menu items that we currently have.
Hell yeah. What about you, Johnny?
Obviously we're known for tacos, and on our marquee it says tacos, tequila, margaritas. But our bowls are rising like crazy. It's our number 2 or best-selling item behind our tacos, and it keeps increasing period over period. And we created our company chef Trey Santa Maria created a bowl called the Fire Roasted Street Corn Bowl. Well, he created our street corn, and then he created this concoction, this bowl of our roasted chicken, rice, black beans, cilantro, lime aioli, tahini, lime juice, and it is so darn craveable. I eat that bowl. I mean, I am a creature of habit, but I eat that bowl about 4 times a week. And we all eat Condado. I've been working here obviously since day one and going on 9 years. And I eat Condado every single week, several times a week, and I'm not tired of it. But that bowl, Fire Roasted Street Corn Bowl, it's actually not even on our menu. It is on our app. It is on our website. But when you go into the store, it's not actually on the menu. But if you say, I like the Fire Roasted Street Corn Bowl, they'll make it for you. And I highly recommend it. And if you don't like it, please tell me, because I want to know, because I haven't found anyone yet who has said that they do not like that bowl.
All right. Yeah, on the app and on the website, but not on the in-store menu. That's the kind of goods I was looking for. I appreciate that. If we're keeping track at home, I'm a Blue Dream or Lucy's Fire and the queso. You got to get the queso. I love the queso.
Yep, those are our 2, number 1 and number 2 best-selling tacos. Lucy's Fire number 1, Blue Dreams number 2, and queso we sell a ton of. And yeah, we're very proud of our queso. We get that a lot. A lot of people love our queso. And we share the recipe with everyone. Just 3 ingredients. It's white cheddar cheese, heavy cream, and milk. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing cutting it. So that's just those 3 ingredients. You can easily make it at home.
All right, Jim, you hear that? Easily make it at home. All right. We'll keep that in mind. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate all the background on Condado. That was all very interesting to me. Hopefully the folks out there listening as well find all the background on Condado interesting as well. We'll get in a little catering and off-premise action here moving forward. And I think I want to just start out pretty basic. And I'm not sure what the answer will be, but I just wanted to ask, for catering in general and food delivery, how crucial has catering become as a business for Condado? Are we heavily invested in it? I know obviously we have the packaging, the taco boxes, the branding. You guys even have your own bags when you come get takeout and things like that. So it seems to be that way. But on the back end, are you guys spending a lot of time in the catering realm and food delivery?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why I came on in 2019. Condado had already started dabbling in catering before, but they recognized the value of what off-prem and catering can do for a business. And they were like, if we really want to take this serious, we really want to put the time, money, and the effort behind to grow a segment of this business in Condado, we've got to put the people and the investment behind it. And that's exactly what they did. When I came on board, we immediately started hiring some additional management to help. We really put a lot of emphasis on our sales team part of last year and this year. And we don't look at it as just a extra side of the business. It is absolutely part of the business. The one thing too is that we continually strive and work on is brand awareness. You know, we have a handful of locations, a huge platform in Ohio, but there's still a lot of people that don't know who we are. So this gives us an opportunity to share with a lot of our guests and a lot of our communities that we're currently in the visibility of Condado outside the four restaurants. Because a lot of people that do order catering from us, whether they've had Condado, have heard of Condado, or been in one, you know, when you're catering to multiple guests, you can bet that someone in that group has never had Condado. So it's a continuous way for spreading brand awareness and just the culture, because, you know, I know you guys have had Condado before and it's such a great experience. And so that's a big part of why they invested in the catering aspect.
Hell yeah. That's always great to hear. Gotta love doubling down on catering. And then just kind of another random question I thought of. I know as the food delivery market has kind of escalated since COVID, things of that nature, order size has increased a pretty heavy amount, maybe 50 to $100 depending on who you're asking. I think our average ticket size is right around 350 right now. I just want to ask, is Condado, what is the average order size for a Condado catering delivery?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of guest count, it really varies. I would say our average is probably between 30 and 35, only because we do a lot of 10 to 15 person, but we also do a lot of weddings, big sports teams. But in regards to price, we average our average order value, especially for this last year, is around $580. So when we first started catering, with this platform in 2019, I would say that our average catering orders were around 200. Granted, that was when we were doing maybe like 40, 50 catering orders a week. Now we're doing more than 400. So that obviously plays a big part as well on the size of our catering.
That's crazy. That's a crazy increase. And you kind of mentioned who you're catering to in regard to weddings and events and things of that nature. Do you have a biggest order that Condado's done in your catering history, or any order that you remember that you were just like, wow, like the way we pulled that off was just wild?
I think we actually did a really large one before my time. I want to say it was for Cardinal Health, but since I've been with Condado, we really took on during COVID some big businesses, retailers, warehouses that we knew were still going to be actively going into their office or work. And so we actually got lucky when Rogue built their headquarters here in Columbus, which is right down the street from our first flagship store. We were able to do multiple caterings with them over the course of COVID during shutdown for a lot of other businesses. And so we catered to all of their headquarters, all of their warehouses, all the retail. So it was thousands of people, and they wanted individual meals. So we really rallied. It was such a great, team effort. We were lucky that we do have a handful of stores in the Short North downtown Columbus area. And so we all worked together to logistically make it happen. So the food quality and temperature was there. And I would say from my standpoint, that was the biggest one that I've done since I've been with the company.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Coordinating between multiple stores to get one order done has to be a wild endeavor. In regard to the delivery piece itself, I know a lot of brands out there have gone from like the foil pans and the tops and the sternos and the racks where we would call a full catering setup, to now these catering boxes. They look a little prettier, they look nicer, they're easier to set up, things of that nature. So in regard to a platform like ours, where the setup piece is so crucial, like that's what we sell our service on, that's what we provide for your brand and your customers, your brand specific setup. How crucial is that setup piece for a brand like Condado, where lately a lot of these setups, at least on mine that I'm seeing visually, are just the taco boxes? Is it important to have the boxes before the chips, or the chips after the boxes, the salsas in front of the chips? Are there's, you obviously include labels with the boxes, things of that nature. So how crucial is the setup piece for Condado?
It's extremely important, right? And we cater to so many different types of businesses, social events, sports teams. So we really, when it came to, I know part of the, we'll talk about packaging, but is how can we be flexible and to, I'm going to be acronym, cater to everybody, right? And there are a lot of different caterings out there where all you're getting is, just full pans. And sometimes you want a little bit more of a flair and, a nicer appearance. And so, when it comes to setting up, we always want to have our team be able to set up for our guests. But we also understand that that's not always capable. Sometimes the guests don't eat right away. Sometimes they want a quick grab and go. Sometimes they don't want anyone in the building, especially when we do a lot of healthcare facilities. So it's important for us to create a visual and a package that can accommodate to all. So the great thing about our taco boxes is they are visually appealing, but they're super, super easy to set up. You just flip the top, take the lids off, and everything is ready to go. We obviously offer options for sternos and chafers if people want something to keep their food warm. We offer that on our menu as well, but really it is about being flexible in what our guest needs. At the end of the day too, we recognize, and you just said it, do you put the chips in front? Do you put the proteins in front? Where do you put the placement of all the other things? And we understand that those things are important, that speak to the experience and how you eat the food. So what we've done in the case that we can't set up is we've done a couple of things. Every one of our catering orders comes up with a setup guide. So we work really closely with our design and marketing team to basically create an outline and a guide that shows you with easy visuals exactly how we would set up our catering if we were there doing it for the guests. If you don't want to look at the guide, we went a step further and we put a QR code on our new catering boxes. And if you actually scan it, we had a video created that actually walks through step by step how to set it up. Again, we know not everybody wants us to be there, but we want to ensure that the experience is the same way that it would be had we would be. So it was really important for all of those details. As simple as it is, makes such a big difference on the experience. And we even went as far as including reheat instructions. Again, we know people have leftovers a lot of the times, and they're like, we want to ensure that it's safe, the quality is there. And so when it comes to our standards on setup, we go and take that very, very, very seriously.
Yeah, and I just really do want to give your team your flowers in regard to that whole process, because thinking about that entire life cycle of how the delivery is going to go, you're talking about the hospital drop-offs, you're talking about doctor's office drop-offs, you're talking about schools, businesses, whatever it may be. The interactions are always so different for each customer, whether they want the driver to come in and set up, whether they just want to meet them at the door, this, that, and the other, and going that extra length where you guys are providing setup diagrams, creating videos on your end is a wild move that I've never even heard of with any other brand. So unbelievable things that you guys are doing in regard to that aspect of it, but it's unbelievable. It's very helpful for customers, and then again for the driver end. We do our best to provide what our brands that we work with directly their setup should look like, but when the brands are already doing it themselves as well, it's just there's 2 points of contact, so it's just even easier to make sure that goes as seamless as possible. So thank you guys for that. Just props to your brand for doing things like that. It really is appreciated.
I'm glad.
Yeah, of course. And I think I really have a couple more questions. So we'll get you guys I think we got 20 more minutes. So we'll maybe get you guys out here a little earlier. I want to ask about, I guess we can kind of skip to, we mentioned COVID. You mentioned individually boxed meals a little bit earlier. But since that time, a lot of things have changed, in regard to how food is packaged, how fast it's done, order times, things like that. I know on our end, we've seen this catering market. You talk to people like Earl Dardick and things of that nature. He's talking about how you used to take catering orders over the phone and you write it on a pen and pad, and then you have a week to get it done because you have so much lead time. And now people are ordering on your website, and they're ordering an hour before they want it at their office, things of that nature. So it's just wild what the expectations for the consumer have become. But obviously you have to facilitate that as the brand as best you can. So I guess maybe putting you on the hot seat here, because I don't know if you even want customers to know this, but if they order and need it immediately, how fast can you guys prepare a $300 or $500 taco box? Or what's your ideal lead time, I guess would be a better way to ask that question.
There's obviously from an operation standpoint an ideal lead time, but I will say there are so many cases where someone or a guest has called us and said, hey, we actually have a last minute meeting, or we've even had it where wedding caterers have dropped off like the week of a guest wedding. And I think through word of mouth, especially from the social side, people are recognizing how quick, and we want to pick up the tab. We want to take care of, we want to be the person to save the day, so to speak. So yeah, there's an ideal timeline, but at the end of the day, our operators in the store, they're hungry. They want that catering. So if I say, hey guys, like, is there any way that you can pump this out in the next hour or two? They're like, we'll find a way. It's not even I don't know. It is, I don't have the answer right now on how we're going to do it, but we will do it because we always find a way. Our lead time on a lot of our platforms is 3 hours, but there is no, limit. When I say 3 hours for 50 people or 3 hours for 100, we haven't had a huge issue with creating such a small lead time with no limitations on guest count. For the most part, a lot of the people that are planning for those 100 plus, they want to ensure that the catering is going to be accurate and on time, and that everything's set in stone. So they will call us a day or two in advance. But at the end of the day, the 3 things that are so important in why I feel our catering has been successful: flexibility is number 1. You have to be flexible. Changing guest count, dietary restrictions, moving locations. You have to be super nimble and flexible when you're doing catering. You have to be adaptable, and you have to remember, most importantly, the hospitality behind all of it. You're being asked to be a part of someone's day, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a wedding, we do a lot of stuff with professional and college sports teams. We are a part of that. And so it is important that no matter what they need, that we find a way to make it work. And I truly think that is how you build repeat customers. That's how we've continuously grown over 100% year over year in catering. Like, those are the types of things you have to have in your catering team, and most importantly in your operations team as well, to be successful in this day and age, because everybody wants to cater. Everybody wants to do off-premise. But who is showing up to the table? Those are the people that are showing up, the people that respond, that are flexible, and no matter what, want to make sure that, the guest is getting exactly what they want and what they deserve.
Yeah. I can't disagree with any of that. That was great. That was very well put. I just want to make sure we give you guys a chance to promote where customers can find you guys and order catering, or just order regular food delivery if they need to. I know you guys just created your native app like summer of 2021. I desperately wanted those free tacos for life. I didn't get it, but if we can work that back in somehow, more than happy to negotiate as needed. But where would you prefer them? They can go to your website, I imagine. They can download the app. You're also available on platforms like Easy Cater and things of that nature, I imagine. So where can people order catering from Condado, or just get regular food delivery?
So you can go to CondadoTacos.com. You can order through our app. Our app offers great rewards. And then through catering, we're listed in a handful of places. So if you order through our app and through our website on the restaurant menu side, we do sprinkle in a handful of catering items. We also have a catering website. It's CondadoTacos.com/catering. You can order directly through there. There's also a contact us. We have a whole sales team and a whole team of catering coordinators behind the scenes. So if you were to contact through email or through phone call, we have someone on the other end waiting to talk to you about what you're looking for, what your event is, helping walk through any of your needs that you're looking for specifically for that event. You can go to easycater.com. We have catering on DoorDash. We have Grubhub, Uber Eats. I mean, again, the success is also putting yourself out there, making yourself known. And in order to do that, you really kind of have to find the channels that people are going to in order to be seen. And so we're kind of everywhere. If you type in Condado Catering, you'll see us. And kind of just to plug this too, a really cool thing that we recently did when it came to where you can order is if you were to Google Condado Catering business lunch or Condado Catering wedding, we worked really closely with our marketing team and created specific pages geared towards those who are looking for a business luncheon or a business meeting, those who are looking for potentially a wedding. Hey, we're in football season, tailgate season. So it's kind of nice because look, everyone is busy. Convenience has to be there. So instead of you trying to search for exactly what you're looking for, we created specific pages. So when those searches come, they're going directly to that business catering page. They're going directly to that business wedding page. And then everything that you're more than likely going to ask is all there. But again, we have a team of people to be able to respond and help you as well.
That's another great idea. Just segmenting out the customers will be looking for catering specifically. It's another forefront of things I think that your guys' brand is doing. That's really kind of front of mind thinking in terms of catering and how to approach the customers in a easier, more seamless manner. That's guys, that's really all I got. Johnny, I apologize for throwing you on the bench there for a little while, so me and Karen could hash it out, but I appreciate your patience with us. And I think we can just close it out with this one. I just want to make sure, obviously, Karen, you mentioned you guys have such a strong foothold in Ohio, but there's obviously so many customers out there who still might not be entirely familiar with Condado or have never eaten with the brand specifically. So I'll pose this question to Johnny and Karen, both of you. If you could, if someone hasn't heard about the brand or hasn't eaten with you guys yet, why should they? What should they expect? And what would you guys tell them they can enjoy with Condado as a whole? I guess we'll pose it that way. Why should they eat with Condado, and what can they expect when dining in with your restaurant or utilizing the app for food delivery?
I'll at least say for me, one of the reasons why I love Condado and why I always recommend it, aside from the food, right? The food is always fresh. It's super craveable. We adhere to all dietary restrictions, which nowadays is super, super, super important. But a lot of times people ask me like, oh, I've never heard of Condado, or, I want to check it out, kind of, can you tell me like what the demographic is? Because, there's some places, especially like, in downtown areas where it might be a little bit of a younger scene. And the awesome thing that I say, and I say it with a smile every time, is everyone. There is no demographic, because the demographic is if you like food, you like hanging out, you like drinks, then that is the place for you, right? It's not a younger crowd. It's not an older crowd. When I go there, I see all walks of life, hanging out with friends, hanging out with family, because to me, that is what Condado is, right? We have some slogans where we say, come as you are, right? Enough yum for everyone. And it is because that is exactly what Condado is. There is a plethora of people that come in, and it's always inviting. It's always a great place to hang out. Whether you're hanging out with friends, whether you're hanging out with family. I often go to Condado sometimes just to like sit and get away from the office and be out and in the vibrancy. Like, it is a place that you just feel so welcomed in. And you can't always find that in restaurants. So to me, that's why, and what I will always continue to say in regards to why I love Condado and why I always encourage people to try it.
Hell yeah, yeah. Come as you are. What about you, Johnny? Why should someone who isn't familiar with the brand come try you guys out?
I have a lot to say here, Ben. I'm biased, but man, I have a lot to say, and we have numbers to back it up. Fresh, craveable food is one. All of our food is so craveable. Our tacos are so craveable, and it's quality, and it's fresh. And our service is outstanding. And it's not just at the store level, but in catering as well, like we've talked about. You could sit down. By the time you sit down at a table with Condado, the first thing you order to the time you swipe your credit card, it's 41 minutes. You could be in and out for a full service, for a full dining experience. If you want to stay later and longer, you by all means you can. If you go to order from either DoorDash or Uber, by the time you place that order to the time it's dropped off at your front door, it's about an average of 33 minutes. That's crazy. That's fast, and it's fresh, and it's great. We're very proud of our service. So we gather all of our reviews. You know, we have about almost somewhere between 350 and 400 reviews on a weekly basis company-wide, and we gather all our reviews through a review platform called Yext. And they take everything from TripAdvisor and Yelp and Facebook and Google, and we average on there a 4.6, which we're very proud of out of 5. Easy Cater, we average a 4.8, 4.9 out of 5. You know, I could go the list of metrics on our KPIs that Karen grades our entire company on a weekly basis for off-premise or third-party delivery partners, our accuracy reports. We're 97%. 97% of the time, your order is going to be accurate. You know, and I know you say, oh, well, it's not 100%. Well, how many orders you have coming in and how many build your own options you have, 97% is a great number in the restaurant industry world. We're very proud of that. And that's something that Karen grades every single one of our stores on a weekly basis, is how accurate are you? How many missing items did you have? What did our guest reviews say? Easy Cater, you know, did we deliver on time? You know, 99% of our orders are delivered on time. You know, I have some crazy metrics here just from Easy Cater, and I have them.
Yeah, keep it going. I love this.
And I always talk very highly of our catering team. Our average response time, you go to inquire about a catering order through us, we get back to you in 14 minutes. The average top competitor is 4.5 hours. That's a huge difference, right? So Ben, if you go to order for your office, you're like, I didn't place an order for catering. Damn, I'm in a bind. I need a response right now, and that happens all the time, right? That's actually more common, right? Where people have those WTF moments. They're like, oh, I can't believe it. You didn't place a catering order for the office. We'll get back to you right away. If you don't, you're going to find somewhere else that will take that order, right? So that's one of the reasons why we're so successful there with catering. We never reject any orders. We have a 0 rejection rate, where some of our competitors are at 1% and 2% of their orders they reject because they're out of items or whatever. They can't place the order. So all of that, our customer service, we're very proud of. It's a big part of our culture. It's not just in catering, but also within our 4 walls, right? It's how we treat our guests. So you're going to get that experience. And we really preach how friendly we are and how friendly our staff needs to be. We need to go out of our way for that guest. We need to appreciate that guest, right? We're actually launching a new initiative next week called the New Guest Experience, where a host says, you ever been to Condado before? And you've never been there before? They'll give you a card, right? And it tells you everything about Condado, what we're known for, fresh, craveable food, our double-deckers, right, that we're known for, our big tacos, our fresh bowls, our artwork on the wall, what it means, how long we've been established. You get that card, and there better be a manager that says, thank you so much for coming in and spending your time and your money with us. Instead of 1 foot out the door, hey, thanks for coming in. You know, we want to make that a difference in an experience. So that's what separates us, and that's one of the many reasons why you need to come check out Condado. You need to get that experience because we value people, and you're going to leave there going, that was great. That was great food. I know I'll be back for that. I'll crave it tomorrow during lunch. That was a great experience I had with that server or bartender, that manager. And even in off-premise, at your office or your home, in a catered event, we will get back to you. And then we will follow up with you afterwards and say, how did that event go? How was the food? Was it everything that you thought it was going to be? Was it worth it? And that's what separates us from everyone else. So for all those reasons, that's why you should come visit Condado.
I'm jacked up. That was great. That might be a mic drop moment for Johnny of Condado on the DeliveringMore platform. That was unbelievable. That was wonderful. Yeah, hey, COO, you're doing a hell of a job. I think we're getting Condado for lunch right now. Jim's giving me a head nod. We're all in at Deliver That on Condado without a doubt. Karen, Johnny, I do appreciate your guys' time so much. I know coordinating this It can be difficult sometimes roping in two individuals of such a great brand. But talking with you guys and talking about your brand is honestly so easy because I really do love the brand. The relationship with you guys has been unbelievable throughout the partnership we've been navigating together. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your consideration of the catering industry and the drivers, as well as your consumers and your customers on your end. I know everyone in the industry appreciates you guys and your brand. So thank you so much. And we'll see you guys very soon.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for being a
Awesome.
great
Thank you,
partner.
Ben. Yeah, thank you so much.